Welcome back, gamers and lovers of all things retro. Today we're diving headfirst into gaming history, with a ranking of games made using the legendary Wolfenstein 3D engine, also known as It Takes Zero. That's right, the engine that gave us Wolfenstein 3D and kicked off the FPS revolution. We've got everything from iconic shooters to questionable experiments that probably should have stayed in development. And yes, you got a biblical FPS on this list, because nothing says retro gaming like Nova dual-wielding bags of feed. Stick around to see where that gem lands. So buckle up, because we're counting down from the bottom of a barrel to the top tier legends. So with no time to waste, let's start our list. At number 14, it's Terror of the Catacombs, the FPS that tried to be creepy but ended up being more confusing than terrifying. You're stuck in a maze, blasting skeletons and demons while constantly wondering if you've already been down this hallway 5 times. It's like a haunted house, where the scariest thing is your lack of direction. If you enjoy getting lost and shooting the same enemy 20 times, congratulations, this is your perfect game. Coming in at 13, we have In Pursuit of Greed, a game that dared to ask, what if we mixed Wolfenstein with capitalism and aliens? The result was interesting. It had some cool ideas, like unique weapon designs and funky level layouts, but the execution? Let's just say it feels like the developers ran out of greed before finishing it. This game was basically Space Monopoly, except instead of bankrupting your friends, you just shot them, which honestly sounds more fun. At number 12 we've got Hover Tank 3D, the game that walked so Wolfenstein could run. Instead of corridors, you're piloting a tank and rescuing civilians, while blowing up everything in sight. Sounds awesome, right? Well, it's more like piloting a cardboard box through a PowerPoint presentation. Still, credit where credit's due. Without Hover Tank, we might not have gotten Wolfenstein or Doom. So thanks, Hover Tank, but also, yeah, you're staying at 12. Just outside the top 10 is a Catacomb Abyss, where you trade guns for fireballs and dungeons for slightly spookier dungeons. This was one of the first FPS games to explore fantasy settings, and it had a cool mechanic where you could blast holes in walls to find secrets. But let's be honest, it's basically Wolfenstein with wizards. Fun fact, if you squint hard enough, you can convince yourself you're playing Skyrim with a 1990 graphics card. Kicking off the top 10 is Operation Body Count. This game said, you know what, let's take Wolfenstein and add SWAT teams, terrorists and dogs in gas masks? Well, the result is a game that's as bonker as it sounds. And let's not forget the iconic shouting terrorists. If you don't hear "Stop right there!" in your nightmares, did you even play Operation Body Count? At number 9, it's Corridor 7, Alien Invasion, the game that said, why fight Nazis when you can fight aliens in a secret government facility? This game had the ambition to go full X-Files on us, with alien enemies, creepy sound design, and a storyline straight out of a 90s sci-fi movie. The problem? It is still kind of looked like Wolfenstein, so the aliens sometimes felt less like extraterrestrials and more like dudes in Halloween costumes. But hey, points for creativity. Sliding into 8th place is Blackstone Planet Strike, the sequel to Blackstone Aliens of Gold. It took everything good from the first game, sci-fi settings, mutant enemies, and James Bond-style spy gadgets, and added more action, better level design, and a lot more lasers. But let's be real, the biggest Planet Strike here was the sound of your parents yelling at you to turn off your computer after hours of blasting mutants. At number 7, it's the most bizarre game on this list, Super 3D Noah's Ark. Yes, this is a Wolfenstein 3D mod where you play as a Noah, feeding angry animals by shooting food at them, because why not? Technically, this is the only officially licensed Wolfenstein mod, since it got the green light from, wait for it, a Christian game publisher. It's a family-friendly FPS action at its finest. Fun fact, this game was released as an unlicensed SNES cartridge that you had to piggyback onto another game just to play. A game about Nova that literally needed a miracle to work. Ironic, huh? And just outside of top 5 is Blackstone Aliens of Gold. If Wolfenstein was all about corridors and Nazis, Blackstone took us to a future with evil scientists, mutant experiments, and space stations. It's basically Wolfenstein meets Star Trek, but with a lot more shooting. This game was revolutionary for its time, introducing NPCs that could betray you and secret missions within missions. It had a depth to the FPS genre before Doom came along and stole the show. One cool thing about Blackstone? The soundtrack. It's got that retro sci-fi vibe that makes you feel like you're on a mission to save a galaxy, or at least shoot it into submission. Starting off the top 5 is Catacomb 3D, the grandfather of FPS dungeon crawlers. This was one of the first games to use the Wolfenstein engine, and it gave players a taste of what would eventually evolve into Doom and Quake. You're not just shooting enemies, you're zapping them with firebolts and acting like a wizard with anger management issues. It's Harry Potter meets Wolfenstein, minus the British accents. Fun fact, Catacomb 3D was also one of the first games to feature a visible hand in a first-person view. That's right, FPS games owe their floating hands of Doom trope to this gem. Coming in at number 4 is Spear of Destiny, a prequel to the iconic Wolfenstein 3D. This game had everything we loved about Wolfenstein, but added new enemies, tougher levels, and an epic quest to recover the legendary Spear of Destiny. The stakes were so high that failure meant handing the Nazis literal world domination. No pressure or anything. Spear of Destiny was the first game to take a simple FPS and turn it into a cinematic experience. Sure, it's not the most complex story, but who needs Shakespeare when you have a machine gun? Taking the bronze medal is Shadowcaster, a game that dared to push the Wolfenstein 3D engine to its absolute limits. You're not just a guy with a gun, you're a shapeshifter who can transform into creatures with unique abilities. Shadowcaster combined RPG elements, exploration, and action in a way that felt way ahead of its time. Pro tip, if you ever feel overwhelmed in this game, just turn into a big angry werewolf. It works every time, trust me. This game was one of the first to blur the lines between genres, laying the groundwork for action RPGs we know today, and it looked amazing for its time. In second place, it's Rise of the Triad, the most insane and chaotic FPS of its era. This game was all about going big or going home. Insane weapons, ludicrous gibs, and more explosions than a Michael Bay movie. It's like someone asked, what if we took Wolfenstein and cranked the insanity dial up to 11? And the answer was this glorious mess. Rise of the Triad wasn't just about action. It introduced features like jump pads, destructible environments, and some of the weirdest weapons in FPS history, like the drunk missile. Yeah, that's a thing. And at number 1, no surprises here. It's the legendary Wolfenstein 3D, the game that started it all. This isn't just a game, it's a revolution. The corridors, the enemies, the secrets, everything about Wolfenstein 3D redefined gaming in 1992 and paved the way for every FPS we've played since. And let's not forget, the ultimate boss battle. You versus Mecha-Hitler. If that's not peak 90s gaming, I don't know what is. Wolfenstein 3D didn't just define a genre, it created it. Without this game, we wouldn't have Doom, Quake, or basically any modern FPS. It's the OG, and it still holds up today. And there you have it. All 14 games that I could find made with Wolfenstein 3D engine. These games didn't just entertain us, they shaped gaming history. So what's next? In our next video, we're ranking games made with id Tech 1. The engine that brought us Doom and some of the greatest FPS games of all time. You don't want to miss it. Until then, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, or Mecha-Hitler might come knocking on your door. Just kidding! See you next time, gamers.